All right. Hello, welcome to my video. This is, if you've seen my 10 years of progress video, this is going to be kind of a continuation of that. This will cover about the past 3 years, and I'm calling it a retrospective on Riley Hawke. So, for those of you that don't know, Riley Hawke is not my real name. That was kind of a stage name that I created about 3 years ago when I decided to really pursue music seriously and was trying to do it in a way that could lead me to having a career in it. And I'm making a pivot at this point in time, and I really wanted to do kind of a look back on Riley Hawke, the things that I learned, the things that I accomplished. So this video is going to be in 3 parts. The first part is going to be what I did, so that will just kind of be a showcase of the songs that I worked on over the past 3 years. The second part's going to be the results, and I just went through some of my social media and like Spotify and stuff and collected some numbers just to have some data to look at, kind of interesting. And then part 3, which is the most interesting part to me, is kind of the lessons learned, and there I'll talk about, you know, what I'm planning to do differently moving forward based on the kinds of things that I liked and didn't like about like the Riley Hawke era. All right, so without further ado, we'll get started on part 1. Okay, so throughout this section, I did a lot of collaborations over the past 3 years. So in any case where I'm talking about a collaboration and showing you a little clip, I'm going to put links in the description if you want to go check any of that stuff out. So that being said, I'm just going to go chronologically and show little clips, talk a little bit about things where it's interesting. The very first thing that I did as Riley Hawke was this song called Overexposed. And this was like a really interesting project. There's this fan fiction called All Wounds by Destiny Smasher that she worked on turning into a visual novel. And I kind of reached out and was like, hey, do you want some music for this? I really like the fic. And she was like, yeah. So I ended up creating this song, and then I collaborated with Dakota Crespo on it, who was a winner of a Life is Strange fans music competition, and I thought her voice was just really beautiful, and she ended up playing kind of the Max part of the track, and so that was cool. And then the video was a real undertaking. I don't know what possessed me to try this, but I ended up using RPG Maker to kind of create this little world for like a little Max and Chloe sprite, and I created all these like parallax, I think they're called maps, and did a little bit of coding, and then I created this like video where they're in this little RPG world. It took me like 2 weeks. It was a big one, but it was fun. I think it turned out really cool. All right, so next thing I did was release a 6-song EP. And this was really cool for me because I've been making music, like if you saw my previous video, for about 10 years, and I had never like released anything. And so I had these songs that I'd kind of already written, and then I went back over them again to improve the production with some of the stuff I'd learned. In the case of Fragile Reality, I ended up just completely redoing the production, and I had it professionally mixed and mastered. I put up a website with some like, I think they turned out really cool, some cool like banners like saying it was released, and I did the album artwork, which was great. I really liked it. It's me and my wife Jessica. Those are our arms, and then I did a bunch of Photoshop stuff, so that was cool. I did a little bit of advertising, especially on Facebook, which went like okay, and yeah, had that out there. That was a big accomplishment. And so after my EP, I was kind of left to think about what I was going to do next and kind of what my niche was going to be. You know, if you look into how to be a successful artist, you'll always hear about like find your niche, you know, and so I was kind of thinking about, okay, well, what can my niche be? And all my fans were basically from Life is Strange. So I went along that line and kind of decided to do music that was based on video games and TV shows and that sort of thing. And the first one that I did, the first one I did was a song called Witness, which was based on 13 Reasons Why. so after that I did a couple of collaborations with Ed, who's also a music maker in the Life is Strange fan community. And I ended up doing some acoustic guitar and vocals for a couple of his songs called No Way. And then also Moving On. Alright, so after that I did a contest. It was for this company called Embertone. They make virtual instruments. And it was a chance to do kind of a more like orchestral sounding piece. I didn't put like an orchestra in it, but it was more of a type of thing you might hear as like a soundtrack or whatever. And that was fun. And I even won like a honorable mention type of award for putting lyrics in the songs. I think I was the only person that did that, but I couldn't help it. I did that. Alright, so after that, I did a collaboration with Audio Insurgency called Stranger. I have to wonder if could I be a stranger than. And then at some point around here, I was kind of realizing how much my lack of skills was really holding me back. Just kind of like my guitar skills, my vocal skills, just everything really. And around this time I started taking drum lessons, and then I also decided to do more like of kind of a study and start with like Bon Iver, who's one of my favorite artists. And I did a cover of his song Flume. Alright, so at this point, Life is Strange Before the Storm came out, and I wanted to do some music based on that, especially because like I said before, a lot of my fans were from the Life is Strange community, and I felt like it was a perfect opportunity to kind of get back in there. So the first one I did was a cover of Youth by Daughter. Collecting pictures from the flood that wrecked our home. It was a flood that wrecked this home. And the second song I did was called Wasteland, which was based on the first episode of Before the Storm. So this song actually got shared by the official Life is Strange social media pages. That was like the best promotion I've ever gotten. And that was really cool. I was really happy about that. I know everybody lies, but I still hope she won't lie to me. And then the next thing, so this was really cool. This was really cool. I was contacted to be a part of a documentary called Finding Arcadia Bay. And this is a fan-made documentary about other fans who make stuff inspired by Life is Strange. And that was great. Chris and Robin came out to my house and filmed like an interview, and we got a chance to talk, and it was a nice experience. And I think the documentary turned out really good too. So, like with everything else, I'm going to put a link in the description if you want to go check that out. For me, kind of creating it and being able to dig in there and figure out, what is the really central conflict here? What is the feeling? What is this thing? Try to find the most raw aspects of it and kind of, just express it in music. All right, the next song I did was Blinded, based on the second episode of Before the Storm. And since the other day when you swept me away, it's like I'm blinded. And then after that I did a collaboration with Kothi. We did the song Taking You There by Broods, I think. It's the, it's the song that plays when Chloe and Rachel are in the streets at night in, the one. And then around this time, I started a weekly blog on my website where I just talked about all kinds of stuff. I think I talked about things that were happening in my life as well as the things that I was working on music-wise. And Jessica was doing all the photos for that, so that was pretty fun. It was fun for a while, and then it got old, I guess, and then we stopped doing it, but whatever, it was cool. And the next song I did was called Moment of Weakness, and this was a different sort of song for me at the time. I basically write all my music on guitar, and this one I was writing kind of as I was producing it, like with piano and everything. I did another song called Before It Gets Me. Alright, so next, when was this? I think this was before the Riley Hawke era. I participated in this Life is Strange fans music contest, and I thought it was really cool, and I kind of reached out to the admins and asked if we could do another contest, and I offered to pay for a prize and kind of help organize it and everything. So we did that, and then in conjunction with that, we also did kind of like an open mic night live stream where I went to Kothi's house and we did a live stream with like 6 or 7 songs, and that was a lot of work to prepare for, but it was really cool. I'm glad we did that.
I built in my intention until I loved you so much that I could die. And even as my body fell apart, I swear I've never felt more alive.
So after that, I did another collaboration with Audio Insurgency called I Can't Feel a Thing. And then after that, there was this contest on Indie Recording Depot, which is a forum that I've gone to a lot over the past few years, and has been really great. So they did a contest that was to pick a song. I think they picked the song Fever. It was like from the 50s or something. So I was doing a cover of the song Fever, but I really wanted to make it my own. And also around this time, I was really working on my like fingerstyle guitar playing and trying to come up with more inventive parts than I normally had in the past. So I really did that with Fever, and I posted a live version of that cover.
How to love you my way. You give me fever when you kiss me, fever when you hold me tight.
And then I also posted a version. I wanted to do I wanted to do some production on it, and I think right around that time was like this E3 presentation of The Last of Us 2, and I was just like blown away by it, and I loved it, and I wanted to do the production for Fever in like The Last of Us style. I really thought that it could go well with like what Ellie was going through and kind of experiencing from different angles. And then I did a video for that as well.
Night, you give me fever.
I also picked like the most clickbaity kind of thumbnail art that I've probably ever done before, and it didn't work. Yeah, so the next thing I did was I kind of reproduced Blinded, which was a song I had done a while ago, but I had never been happy with the production of it. So I wanted to redo it, and I spent a lot of time on it trying to make it how I had imagined it, and yeah, so that, and then I released it on Spotify and all that, so that was the next thing I did.
Since the other day, when you swept me away, it's like I'm blinded. Rachel, did you mean to say?
And then after that, I did a song based on Red Dead Redemption 2, which don't tell anybody, but I didn't actually play that game. Jessica played it, and I watched parts of it, but I liked it, and I was still inspired by it. And I was just like playing the guitar one day, and Jessica walked by and she's like, "That sounds like Red Dead Redemption-y," and I'm like, "Oh yeah." So I just thought about it more and wrote that song and produced it.
No, it's this new, beautiful view, and this sinking feeling that it was always near, and I was looking over there.
All right, so by this time, we haven't talked too much about my goals except at the beginning, but by this time I was really starting to give up on thinking that I was going to make a career out of music. Just hadn't seen a lot of results in terms of being able to grow my audience or make money or anything like that. But so the next thing I did, I entered a couple of remix contests. I was getting more into like electronic music and production and all that stuff. So the first remix contest was a song called Yours by Andrew Hawke. And the second one I did, I tried to make it kind of future bass style. It turned out okay. This song was called Mama by Clean Bandit featuring Ellie Goulding. And the reason I wanted to do the song was because I'm like, wow, I get to remix Ellie Goulding vocals. Like, it just seemed really cool. So I did that. I let them out in the open. All right, and then the last thing I did before I took like a long break was it was Read My Mind. And this song was, I was like watching Escama España at the time. I was like really into it, probably because it's like, it's a TV show, but it's also like variable rewards. And I was like obsessed, and like, it was bad. But anyway, so I wrote that song kind of inspired by the show, but I also thought about like my youth, like being in high school and kind of having these like intense feelings for girls and like not knowing what to do about it, and like wanting people to kind of read my mind because I was never gonna say it. Anyway, so I did that song, and I made like I think it's a cool video. I made a cool video for it. Yeah. Could you read my mind? So that song ended up like, well, I was watching Escama España, and I wasn't really participating. I was like lurking in the community. And I really thought that the people who were fans of that show would like my song. And so I was disappointed when yet again it just kind of, I just released it and nothing really happened. So yeah, that was disappointing. And after that disappointment, I just got really sad about music, and I just stopped making it. I wasn't depressed like in my life, but I was depressed about music. It kind of made me sad to think about it, and I just decided that I needed to take a break. A lot of the stuff I'm going to talk about in part 3, I was already realizing, already thinking about, but I think I needed that time off to kind of digest it, I guess, and really feel confident about it. So yeah, I did that. That was probably in like May or something of this year. And then more recently in October, I took this course, this music production course. It was a 30-day thing by Andrew Huang. And one of the main reasons I took it was to get myself excited about music again. And it definitely worked. So, I'm not like gonna stop making music. There's all these new directions that I'm kind of excited about going in. So the last song that I just released is called The Gates, and that was the third project in that 30-day course. So I did the whole thing in like a week. It was meant to be in the style of Paris, which is a band that I really like. I just wanted to do something to kind of challenge myself. What if the gates are prettier than what lies in wait? I think you already know. Yeah, you already know. So there's that, and that will be my last release as Riley Hawke. And so yeah, so that's it. That's the recap. That's the showcase. And next I'll move into some of the results. So I'm not going to go too in depth with this. I just picked out a few numbers that I thought were kind of interesting and like indicative of the results that I saw over the past 3 years. So I'll start with YouTube. So my channel, in those 3 years, my channel gained 1,200 new subscribers. And then I got about 82,000 views on all the videos that I posted in the last 3 years. So I'm not counting any views I got on videos that I posted before then. On Spotify, I've got about 244,000 total plays, and over 150,000 of them are just from Wasteland. And I think that's because it was promoted by the Life is Strange social medias. So that was like a huge boost for that. And then other social media stats, I have 175 Twitter followers, I have 437 page likes on Facebook. Okay, and then the last slide I have here is just about money. So I spent $2,500 having my EP mixed and mastered. I spent maybe $200 on advertising. I don't know, but maybe. And then about the money that I made, I'll just say that I didn't make back that amount of money in the past 3 years with all the music that I've released. All right, so now we're gonna get into like the lessons learned part 3 of this video. And took some notes, but this will be pretty conversational. I had a hard time figuring out how to state this in like a few concise bullet points. Like I can state it in one concise bullet point, which is that this is not for me. I don't want this. I don't like this. But in terms of like smaller things, there's a lot of overlap. So I hope it'll be easy enough to follow. So the first thing that I learned, and I think I learned this one a lot by kind of just thinking about it, having thought experiments about it, watching interviews where people talked about this, and that's that I don't want to be famous. And is it embarrassing to admit that I did want to be famous? Maybe, but I think it's not that uncommon for people to want to be famous. And it's something that I've wanted since I was really young. And it's, you know, it's hard for me to kind of look at other people getting all this attention and, you know, why aren't I getting that attention? It's really deeply ingrained in me somehow. And I hope that over time I can really like embody and like feel deeply that I don't want that. But I've definitely decided rationally that I don't want to be famous. And so that kind of informs that I don't want to put any effort into things that will make me famous, you know? And I'm not even necessarily talking about like hugely famous. I'm just talking about mildly YouTube famous, you know? Very modest goals here, but I still don't want it. And some of the reasons for that is that the more famous you are, it's just more pressure, and it's more things that I don't like social media, for example. If I spend too much time on social media, I get really upset. Like it's hard for me not to compare myself to other people, and like no matter how much fame or success you get, there will always be more to have. And so I really need to think about whether or not I want to do that, you know, and I don't. I really don't. The second thing that I learned is that I have a low threshold for insincerity. So this is, I recognize that this was going to be kind of a trade-off, you know, as soon as I decided to start pursuing a career in music. I knew that I wouldn't be able to 100% just make the stuff I wanted to make, that I thought was cool. I'd always need to think about what other people would want to watch, what will fit in my niche, what will help me grow my audience, what will other people like. And I tried to do it in a way that there was a lot of overlap between what I liked and what I thought other people would like. And even that amount of overlap was too much for me. I think the best example of this is my Read My Mind video. That video, it's cool and I like it, but I'm also kind of ashamed of it, you know, because like I'm a lesbian, okay, but I don't want to flaunt that for views. I don't want to make that too big a part of my artistry, you know, other than just the way that it inherently is. I really just had to kind of stop and be like, all right, Cristina, what are you doing? You know, like, what are you trying to do here? And I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed that I was trying to get attention so obviously. And I had felt that way to a degree with other videos in the past, but that one, I think that's why I stopped at that point too, because that one I just had to stop and ask myself, what are you doing? And I don't have it in me. That's not something that I'm comfortable with. And I just need to accept that and kind of honor that. Something else kind of related is that I find releasing music to be pretty stressful. Before I release it, I'm always very hopeful that it will do well. And then after I release it, I'm always disappointed because it didn't do well. And that whole period of time, like all of that, the excitement and the disappointment are both not fun. In one case I'm kind of anxious, and in the other case I'm kind of depressed. And it's like, why do I put myself through that? So I know moving forward, I don't want to release music as frequently. I might do it in larger groups. I might release more things like EPs here and again, instead of just releasing music as I create it, just to kind of try to avoid that a little bit. That's the main takeaway. So one thing that I took away from these past 3 years that was like kind of, that was maybe more positive than some of this other stuff. All this stuff in a sense is positive because I learned so much from it. But this one is kind of a nice one. I learned that I enjoy collaborating, and I enjoy when I can contribute with my creative skills. So I'm definitely going to be looking to do more of that in the future. So yeah, I guess, the big thing that I learned, I guess, kind of like I said, I don't want a career in music. It's not something that I want. I already have a career. I like my job, and it pays well, and I have benefits, and I can afford this studio that you can't see, but it's got a lot of cool stuff in it. And if I'm trying to make a career out of music, good luck. I mean, good luck ever having like a nice salary and sustainability. I mean, maybe you're like a hit for a little while and then not anymore, and it's like, okay, now I have to go find a different job. It's like, it's not the kind of thing that I want in my life. And this is kind of an interesting note too, is that in my job, I'm a software engineer, and at my job, I get self-esteem from my job, and it's mostly because they want me there, and with me, because I'm contributing, they've hired me because they want me to do work for them. With music, I'm basically begging people constantly to listen to my music, and that never stops. I mean, you look at like the most successful artists out there, they're still like asking their fans to come to their shows, they're still advertising their music, please buy my album. It's like the opposite, and that doesn't feel good. And it especially doesn't feel good when you don't have a big audience, because it's like you're putting yourself out there and making yourself vulnerable and thinking, well, if a bunch of people respond and listen to my music, it'll be worth it. But if they don't, and even if they do, it's like not worth it. It's like I feel like I've like sacrificed my dignity in a way for something that's not even important to me. If you think about something that you want, you can't necessarily just think, okay, like I want this thing, and only consider not whether you want the result. Like, you also have to consider whether you want all the things that it takes to get you there. And I'm finding that the result that I want isn't what I was really hoping that it would be, and probably wouldn't fulfill me in the ways that I was hoping it would. And that the journey that it takes to get me there is something that I don't like. I don't like it. So that's kind of the summary. So, all right. So lastly, very in summary. So Riley Hawke's goals were to have a career in music. She wanted to grow her audience and make money and get better at making music along the way. But very focused on like having that career, building the audience. And I've decided I'm not doing that anymore. And so I think for my new artist name, I'm going to go with Cristina Hawke, because it's at least my real first name. And it got a bit got a bit weird to me at like people calling me Riley, because I'm like, who dat, you know? And trying to like sign an email and like remember not to sign it like Cristina, like I would when I'm, you know, writing to anybody else. And then, but I still kind of like the separation. I still like it not being just my like full name. It's still got a bit of pizzazz. Like, I don't know. I like the name Hawke. Plus I already have like hawkemusic.com and all that. Anyway, so Cristina Hawke's goals, my new goals. Definitely going to continue getting better at making music. That's something that's really important to me. In the long term, kind of having music that I'm creating with integrity, high quality. I still totally committed to that. I want to prioritize enjoying the process. That was something that I really took as kind of secondary as Riley Hawke, because I was so focused on like the end goal. You know, I was really focused on like, oh, it doesn't matter if I'm suffering through it now, you know, someday it'll all be worth it. And oh my gosh, I don't know, maybe that's true for some people, but I think that was just completely the wrong way of approaching that. Yeah, so I'm going to continue to release music, but I'll probably do so a little bit less frequently, like I said. And I'm not going to put any effort into promoting it. And I think that will be nice. So like, it'll be out there. I want people to listen to it if they want to listen to it, but I'm not gonna put any effort into marketing or making money or anything like that. And the last thing I wrote down was to keep doing like meaningful collaborations. So that's something that I really enjoyed during my time as Riley Hawke. I was doing collaborations, and I want to continue to do those and to kind of make connections and see where I can keep going with my music. I still would like to be able to make music for like web series or video games or things like that. So that might be somewhere down the road. Okay, so that was a lot. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something. You know, it was a lot of work for me to learn this stuff. And maybe if you're trying to do something similar, you can learn something from it, or maybe it'll just help you help kind of reaffirm some things that you might already be thinking or whatnot. Yeah, it was just I watched this video today about survivorship bias, which is a term I had heard and was kind of aware of already, but you know, and like, not literally nobody, but very few people are going to watch this video and see a failure story. You don't even, that's not like, it's like not even a term, like failure story, you know, it's a success story. Because they're all success stories. Like, who wants to hear a failure story that doesn't then like lead to a success story? Everybody loves to hear about how successful people have failed in the past, but what about just a failure? Like, and that's what this is. And I think there's just like untold amounts of people for which this sort of journey is probably true, or still ongoing, or, you know, somewhere in the process. It's like, I don't know. I think it's some kind of unfortunate side effect or consequence of our culture that I even tried to do this in the first place. I think that's true. But I did. I'm really glad that I did. I want to make it clear that I don't regret anything. I'm not upset about anything. I'm really glad that I went for this. I'm glad that I tried it. I think that it will just, I like everything I do, it just makes me more clear about the direction that I want to go in the future, and like the path that I'm headed down is a little bit better than what I was headed down before. And yeah. So, you know, if you want to keep listening to my music, fantastic. You can follow me on like Twitter, because I don't really make like updates on YouTube. I'll keep posting everything on YouTube. But yeah, I'm probably going to change my artist name to Cristina Hawke, so just be aware of that, and I'll see you next time.